Hello, welcome to MBC News. I'm your anchor, Duza Dragonash, and I have with me today 4 out of the potential 6 hewn thighs that I referred to last week that I suspect... Oh, you saw it. Okay, fine. Anyway, I've got Melbourne's writer here in editorial clarity. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Duza.
Oh, it's nice to have other voices today. Okay, well, whilst as we began to make this program, there was breaking news coming from the US. President Obama of the United States announced to the world that Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, was killed in a covert US Special Forces air operation in a compound in Pakistan, just north of Islamabad. Pakistan was taken by surprise, apparently, by the strike, which was launched from Afghanistan. According to Muslim culture, the funeral has already been carried out within the 24 hours, and the body has been buried at sea. Now, Sahib Attar, who was twittering from just north of Islamabad, about helicopters and big noises and the odd explosion and 4 to 5 minutes of gunfire, has found his following going up from, I think, probably around 4,000 up to 77,000 overnight. And is tweeting things like, please go away and let me get some sleep. And I didn't kill him. Over to you, Mal.
Let's do so. Well, over here in the UK this week saw the wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton, and of course thousands flocked to London to be part of the atmosphere. Millions also watched on television and on the internet. Indeed, we watched in Second Life here, a group of people covering continents watching together in real time. However, over in Utherverse, another kind of virtual world, for a few dollars, you could attend the royal wedding in an avatar representing a member of the royal family. This was part of Utherverse's thrust to hosting real-life avatar experiences where real-life people are represented accurately by avatar lookalikes. Well, whatever the copyright issues are remain to be seen. And presumably, like in other worlds, such as Second Life, those representative avatars have actually been taken down. We'll see.
Yeah. Sony's virtual world, Free Realms, has just celebrated its 2nd anniversary. The online game has recently passed the 17 million registered users mark. Free Realms is a free-to-play virtual world, although you can pay a subscription to access special levels. It is aimed primarily at teens and young adults, so I probably shouldn't be whispering. However, when we went to Sony online entertainment site for more information, we found this message. Valued SOE customers, we have had to take the SOE service down temporarily. In the course of our investigation into the intrusion into our systems, we've discovered an issue that warrants enough concern for us to take the service down effective immediately. We will provide an update later today, which was Monday. We apologize for any inconvenience and greatly appreciate your patience. And you're saying to me earlier, Mal, that they've got Homeland Security involved. Is that right?
Yes, well, I don't know they have. I think I did read the end of last week. The US Homeland Security Department decided that they needed to investigate such horrific events. And indeed, I have heard that in the last day or so, well, the rumour is that Sony had been hit by yet a 3rd attack. So it's surprising they're keeping everything offline until they get themselves sorted. Right, for those of you who worry about the effects technology can have on kids, a new report may well raise that level of discomfort. In a report which was out just last week, it was found that children aged 6 to 12 years old spend more than 25% of their waking hours using consumer electronics devices such as game consoles, smartphones, and, of course, computers. The study was conducted by Ipsos OTX Media CT. If you can figure that one out. And it goes on to say that marketers have ample opportunity to engage this demographic, as well as their parents, who often participate on the media platforms with their children.
I don't understand. They just take the plug out. And continuing that subject, I suppose, to some degree, a new virtual world has been launched for kids. Ringsters, launched in the US by National Hockey League, is a hockey-themed virtual world, hoping to show a healthy lifestyle while sitting down playing hockey. Ringsters does have free accounts, and there is a subscription-based option, and there will be a virtual currency, of course, and avatars. Apparently, the Edmonton Oilers are the first NHL club to offer it to their fans. That's at ringsters.com. And now for these messages. And welcome back. And it's time for TechSpot now with Mal Burns. So it's over to you, Mal.
Well, thanks again, Dusa. Just a couple of items this week, really. Do you fancy a built-in eye tracker that makes a projection screen you can't look away from? At least that's the headline. By connecting a Pico projector and an eye-tracking camera, students from the University of Texas at Austin have created a virtual reality gaming setup in which the player cannot tear their eyes away from the action literally. It's a very peculiar setup, actually. It shows, there is a movie of this available. It actually shows somebody facing a computer. You can't really see the computer very well, but it does look like a virtual world that they've got loaded. And there is a camera on top of it that literally moves and follows their face. But the interesting thing is that behind the computer, a couple of feet away at the back of the desk, is a hemispherical kind of panorama of screens. And what happens is, as the viewer moves his head around, looking at the laptop, the image projected on this huge panorama behind him changes. So you get a sort of full panoramic view. My thought is it looks a wee bit cumbersome to be very practical, considering you could have multiple screens and eye tracking that way. But it's interesting departure. If you want to find out more, we've got a link here, which is at www.popsci, or popsci, that's popsci.com. Okay, and finally, this isn't exactly new news, but Second Life gets physics materials. Now, basically, these are what many people in Second Life used to affectionately call wobblies. And it was a sort of, a method of animating your avatar a bit more realistically, should I say, that some independent viewers tested out. Linden Labs have been testing it in their beta viewer, and now that very same beta viewer has been released as Second Life's main client. So
I'm going to ask you something here, Mal. I'm going to interrupt you for a second and ask you something, because when I was looking at that earlier today, I did ask, I wasn't quite sure what they were referring to, and I thought, I wanted to check whether or not we'd already covered this in the news, and so I checked whether or not it was what I call bounce. We've seen the avatars with the bouncing boobs and the bouncing backsides, Yeah. So you're saying, from what I understand, that it is that, although I've been told that it isn't that it's something else to do with gravity.
Well,
Seems to me to be the same thing.
I think they are much the same thing. I'm not going to swear to this, actually, now you mentioned it, but I mean, essentially friction density, gravity multiplier, restitution, stuff like this. This is very similar to the controls you get on the new sort of flexi layer. Basically, what can be done for parts of the avatar's body can presumably be done for other things. And one thing that Second Life people have speculated about is that people will be manufacturing new clothes, costumes, and items for sale in world that have these physics built into them. So I'm sure they won't just be, it's part of the engine, so to speak, and I suspect that it won't be limited to just wobbly chests or wobbly asses.
Oh, well, I've just got an IM here from somebody, one of our backroom boys, who says you can script friction and gravity into objects. It's not about the tits.
No, but I think it is the same technology.
I quote, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I have to put up with.
We will investigate this, ladies and gentlemen, but suffice to say that some interesting physics have now arrived in Second Life's main client, and you have to go into the advanced menu and actually put them on. But then you will get more realistic things happening, so to speak. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, all this relates to mesh as well. Mesh, as yet, it's only been experimented in the beta clients of Second Life. But it is suspected that sometime this month, this will actually come onto the main grid. And in terms of realism and stuff like that, this will be a pretty big game changer. I suspect it will be a bigger game changer than Viewer 2, which caused a fuss all in its own right. Because you will obviously have to have an up-to-date viewer to actually see mesh. And personally, I think it's going to be a pretty bad experience for anybody going into Second Life without a new viewer, because they won't be, not only won't they be able to see the mesh, but they will see a lot of grey mess where there should be mesh, if you catch my drift.
God. So, all right, tell me something. I've got to, I'm still struggling with torturing prims, really. So what happens? Are we going to be able to do communal building? Are we going to still have our lovely sandboxes where we go and help one another, or attack one another? Or are those going to all become redundant?
No, they won't be redundant at all. I think it will take a considerable time for mesh to take over in any great fashion, because you won't be able to use mesh in that way we used to. It's the sort of thing that really has to be created offline, in much the same way as content creators are moving to build creating things in OpenSim, for example. Then they import them into Second Life, and this actually gives them a great deal of content protection that they don't have when they've actually authored it inside Second Life. Because when they import it, it's theirs absolutely, and permissions to give are theirs absolutely, if you see what I mean. Now, the collaboration side of what we do in Second Life will have to remain as it is. I mean, mesh will go hand in hand with the kind of prim-based authoring materials we have built into Second Life. But once a mesh has been imported in Second Life, there is very little editing you can do to it. It has to be sort of constructed and then imported. But it does open up a wide range of opportunities. You can make mesh avatars, for example, which tend to be fixed before they're imported, but are much more realistic than the ordinary Second Life avatars. You could create whole buildings that are phenomenally detailed and use up very little prim count, providing you build them offline and then import those objects in as meshes. So it's a whole new opportunity, and it does bring Second Life to the platform much more into the graphics space that is used by a lot of online games and things which have superior graphics, because mesh is all about collada formats and things like that. So it will improve the whole graphics of the platform and bring it much more up to date. But as I say, you won't lose the old facilities, but after a while, I suspect that there will be enough mesh around that you will want to have the new viewer just to be able to appreciate the environment.
So are we basically going to be a two-tier society, those who can mesh and those who can't? I think, well, I don't think the answer to your question is yes, but I think, roughly speaking, it will be a bit of a two-tier society. There will be people who make the move to authoring out of world and then bringing what they've created and authored in world.
I don't think we will see any kind of end to people doing stuff in world, because one of the wonderful things about Second Life, of course, is it does give every user, whoever they are, tools to create themselves. And I think you'll find it might be much more of a progression. People will use the in-world tools, as we've done for years, and we'll get into the habit of creating things in 3D space and manipulating them. And then maybe people would take that and move on and start creating stuff offline and bringing it in. But I think the two will go side by side for a very long while indeed.
So tell me something, just finally, Mal, on this subject. I mean, what happens with the open sim community?
I don't really know that they're impacted by this greatly at all. Some open simulators and open sims code base itself will be supporting mesh. So that if you create something in mesh offline and then want to bring it into an open sim grid, it will be a similar process to Second Life. You'll just go into import and import it. I would hasten to add that I suspect, like Linden Labs, the cost of importing a mesh will be considerably higher than importing animations and images. At the moment, it's 10 lindens a time, whereas I think meshes are going to cost about 250 lindens or something to import. As far as authoring offline is concerned, most of this stuff tends to be done in 3D authoring apps that can then export to the Collada format. So it's not as though people are going to be in open sims authoring in mesh and then bringing them into Second Life. The actual mesh authoring business is still, for the time being, something you have to do out of any world.
Okay. Thanks, Mel. Okay, it's now time for public service announcements, and we're going over to Editorial Clarity, who is our community commentator.
Hello. I love that title.
Good.
It's great. Just quickly before I start, does this outfit make me look like a priest?
Oh,
Speaking of reverend, I've been looking at the collar and it just makes you look like a priest. Anyways, let's get on with the public
No,
service.
you don't look like any priest I've ever seen.
Ah, good. Okay, just a little bit of paranoia there. Anyway, now the long-running site New World Notes, hosted by Second Life veteran Wagner James Au, is launching a new column dedicated to the arts and entertainment in Second Life. Called Slain, Au has collected a group of contributors who have links with artistic endeavors in Second Life. You can check out the new articles at www.nwn.blogs.com. Now, the University of Western Australia's 3D Art Challenge has completed yet another month of entries and voting from arts enthusiasts across the grid, and the month of April's results were apparently the closest ever. The top prize went to Dusty Canning for Jungle Challenge. Other prize winners included The Dock Spirit by Scotius Polk and Theatre of War created by Mizo Susanoa. Stay tuned next month for the next round of competition, as that shall get underway. Also, the UWA deadline for the Machinima contest is now closed, and the judges have started to watch the entrants, of which there are around 48. Judges are made up of a selection of UWA and SL, with guest judge Peter Greenaway, who 48-hour Machinima participants from last year may remember quite fondly. Now, Avenue, I don't know what. I don't know why you're laughing.
No, I couldn't imagine.
Don't blame me. Right. Avenue saw their Couture for Life event kick off this week as they aim to raise some cash for Relay for Life 2011, as they do each year. On Monday, they began with a bang, hosting a bunch of events. One included was a date auction, where by the end of it, they raised around 173,000 linden. So a big thumbs up for Avenue. If you want to head over to check out the Relay for Life event that they are putting on, you can search Avenue at Goal Sim and find it all there. Miss Virtual World 2012 entries are being submitted to find the most amazing female avatar on the grid to reign as Miss Virtual World for the whole of next year. If you want more information on this, you can contact Frolic Mills in World or head over to www.thebossel.com in the blog section to see what is required to enter. I thought we'd give a roundup of what's new on Metaverse TV website so far this week. Just over a week ago, Metaverse TV and Bossel created the Bossel Awards 2011. You can catch the red carpet show, which happened before the main awards ceremony, which is on the website now. Also, another edition to Claim the Fame has been posted. So if you haven't had a chance to view it yet, head on over and check it out. You can also catch the show live 3 p.m. SLT every Wednesday. Also, talking about Relay for Life as well, we've got quite a nice little story here. I saw somewhere, I can't remember where it was, that the new Linden Labs CEO, Rodvik Linden, went out on the grid to raise some cash, and he went in a dunk tank, apparently. So, I thought that was nice to see that in his robe and, his thing.
Wet toga competition.
Exactly.
I bet he'd win.
And he donated money as well, which was nice.
Oh.
So, yep, that's it for
I got very, very wet.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Back to you, Dusa. Wake up.
Yes, she's drooling.
Oh, there's nothing I like better than a wet man. Okay. Well, we've come to the end of it, haven't we?
A wet rod.
Oh, Eddie.
Right, having said that, just say goodnight very quickly, folks.
Good night.
Oh dear. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or even good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are.
And from me, please stay safe from MBC News.
I mean, yes,
Wet rods.
Wet rods. Oh, my dear.